Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Oklahoma Sportscene, presented by Bricktown Brewery. I'm Chris Lake, along with Gil Cloud, Tulsa Public Schools Athletic Director, and the legendary basketball coach, J.B. Haney. Guys, got a great show, and it's going to be a lot of fun talking to two legendary basketball coaches all during this March Madness.
Well, when you take a look at Billy Tubbs and Ted Owens,
oh, wow.
My goodness. I kind of grew up with their coaching, so I have followed them, and I don't think that we've ever produced in the state of Oklahoma two better coaches than what we did there with Billy Tubbs and Ted Owens.
I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
It's going to be fun. Springtime in Oklahoma, and springtime means, of course, the Masters around the corner the first weekend in April, and they've got a special preview.
The Masters golf is always one of those special times in Augusta, and of course we have today with us Nick Sidorkais, who's the general manager at Southern Hills, who has experienced some of those big-time tournaments, and he's going to tell us how they put one of those on.
And the Tulsa Roughneck season is underway. We'll have David Vaudreil, their head coach, going to be here to visit with us, and look forward to some home matches coming up for the Roughnecks as they start their 2018 soccer season. Well, guys, let's talk about March Madness. Let's see, how long did your bracket last?
Right after the first game, it was done.
JB?
I can't remember all of the years that we have filled out brackets. Never have I seen one just completely eliminate the 1, 2, 3, 4 seed gone. And I can't explain it. My
Final Four, looking back at I had two still alive. We were alive, West Virginia and Kansas. Then I had Arizona winning it all after beating Michigan State. Davidson beat Arizona. My gosh, Coach, what somebody just stunning upsets.
I think the FBI will be interested in Arizona as well.
Yeah, I think so, right there. But the best thing about the bracket so far has been the bracketology breakfast. You hosted at Southern Hills. That was the nicest part. Then after that, it all went downhill in terms of the March Madness. We'll talk a lot more March Madness, college basketball, when Billy Tubbs and Ted Owens join us in the next section. Also going to talk about, guys, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're on a winning streak again.
Tell you what, 4 in a row, and they've really played well lately. Westbrook has 5 triple-doubles in a row now, and that's unbelievable.
Coach, they're from what? They're either close to 3rd, close to 4th, and close to 7th or 8th. It's just crazy how close things are in the West.
That's what, when you look at it, you wonder, well, goodness, their record and what they have done, they should be almost secure of getting in, but they're not. It's going to go right down, the last 3 or 4 games, I think.
I think they have 14 games left.
Yeah.
It's going to be you got to win every game.
Yeah.
Every game's a playoff game, I think.
True.
And I may be a little out of bounds on this, but I think Westbrook will get them in. I mean, he comes up with a play, comes up with a basket. He comes up with the right move, seems like right when they need it.
Well, I'm not sure there's not a better pure athlete in the league.
You're right.
Absolutely. The things he can do, running, jumping, passing, all those skills, I'm not sure there's anybody better.
And you know what he does a lot of times that I notice? He makes a good pass that ends up, it was a bad pass. It wasn't, because the guy he was passing to, had he anticipated and moved like he should have, he would have gotten it.
Anticipation's everything.
That's it.
Yep.
Hey, Tulsa Oilers are coming up their second to the last homestand of their hockey season. They'll be hosting Quad City at the BOK March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. The game's on the 23rd and 24th. Drop the puck at 7:05. Then an afternoon game on the 25th at 4:05. Next to last homestand of the regular season. And the Tulsa Oilers are still fighting for a playoff spot. Looks like a good shot to make the playoffs, guys. Major League Baseball update. Regular Major League Baseball season begins. All 30 teams for the first time in history playing all 15 games on Thursday, March 29th. So the opening of the Major League Baseball season, March 29th, as we end up this month of March. And guys, for spring football update, TU has had their first part of it. Now they're taking their spring break.
Unbelievable, but I think it's good sometimes to get the body rested back up. You're trying to teach technique in spring. You're trying to figure out who can play and who can't. And I think a fresh body coming in after spring break will be really good for the Golden Hurricane.
I know you appreciate Coach Montgomery had a letter to all the TU fans in the Tulsa world this week, really encouraging them to get behind this team.
I really enjoyed reading that because I know it was coming from his heart. And he worked so hard out there, and he's such a great contributor, I think, for the city of Tulsa. So I hope that people will really take advantage of that, start filling that stadium, and if they do, he's going to be winning 8 and 9 ball games every year.
Tremendous value.
Some great ticket prices. There's deadlines to that, so check and get the TU website, take a look at it, order your football tickets, and support the Golden Hurricane. We come back, we're going to have a lot of fun. Get ready, folks. I don't know if I have to say another word in the rest of the show.
No.
Because Billy Tubbs and Ted Owens, two Hall of Fame basketball legends, are going to join us to talk all things March Madness. The Oklahoma sports scene rolls on. At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Noonan's Red Irish Lager. But we haven't forgotten the kids. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. And just ask for our Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery, open every day at 11 a.m.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
Welcome to March Madness, and I can't think of two better guys to have for March Madness than these two Hall of Fame legendary coaches. Billy Tubbs, of course known well to the Sooner fans, and Kansas Jayhawks' own Ted Owens. And guys, I'll tell you, first we're going to talk March Madness, and we just finished 1 week of the tournament so far as we tape on March 19th, so who knows what will happen after this. We can tell you, though, in that very first week, in the South, Virginia the 1, Cincinnati the 2, Tennessee the 3, Arizona, my pick for the championship, all gone. In the West, Xavier 1, gone. North Carolina gone and humiliated. Michigan gone and Gonzaga gone. Guys, it is truly March Madness. Billy, your thoughts on that first week of the tournament?
Is Gonzaga out?
They're out.
No,
No, they're not. I don't think they went out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Michigan's not.
Georgia, no, who's that? I'm looking at your notes, Coach. Give me that.
Well, you have a hard
Gonzaga's
Anyway,
not out.
Gonzaga's in.
You have a hard time
I hate
reading.
to do this, but Gonzaga's still in.
All right, that's his coach. All right. What do you think of this final group here going on with the tournament here, Coach?
Well, I have, for my finals, I have Kentucky, Michigan, Duke, and Villanova.
How about you?
That's my, and they're all still alive.
So,
That
wow.
was my final four.
There you
They're
go.
still alive.
And that was before the tournament started, right?
Yes. Oh,
Right.
of course.
Yeah, okay, Billy. Ted, how about your final? Of course, Ted was one of the major guests on bracketology that Oral Roberts hosted on that Monday right after the tournament draw. And did a great job there, Coach. But who's your top picks?
Well, I'm not going to lie.
Not that Billy would. Yeah.
But right now, I'd say Villanova, Kentucky. I can't, I can't pick anybody but Kansas.
Of course, we understand that.
I don't want Bill to cut me off my seats. But who'd I forget, Gil?
You got one, Villanova, Kentucky, Kansas.
It's not going to make a difference in the second week anyway. So
Michigan?
I know it.
No, Michigan maybe. Michigan's playing pretty well.
Well, Coach
Although
Owens,
you had them out of the
I know
tournament.
it. I did. I put them out already. Coach Owens, those who don't know, of course, and should, started his whole career at the University of Oklahoma as a basketball star for a legendary coach there at OU.
It was a great honor. Bruce Drake, a wonderful man, great coach, and what a privilege it was to play for him. And I was at OU at a great time.
1949 to 51, right? Your basketball
Yeah,
game?
but I entered school in 47, right after the war.
Oh, when I was born.
All the veterans were coming back. It was a great, happy time in this country. And my teammates were nearly all veterans. And, they were what Brokaw called the greatest generation. They never talked about the war and never talked about any particular sacrifice they made. They were just a wonderful group of people.
And for Billy, of course, you're always tied to Oklahoma. Started at Lamar, ended at Lamar, but between that, of course, is the time with the Oklahoma Sooners, legendary 1980 to 1994. Some great times, Coach.
Really was. I had a great time at OU. It's a wonderful place. A lot of people asked me why I took the OU job when I did, and I said because they gave me free football tickets. I grew up in Tulsa, and OU was my team in high school. I mean, I didn't have anybody connected with the team, but some of my schoolmates, Bob Timberlake and Jay Brothers and some guys like that went on to play at OU. But I was a Billy Vessels, Tommy McDonald fan way back when. So, but I never really ever thought I'd be coaching basketball at OU. And I had a great time, and obviously we had some great players. And a guy told me early in my coaching career, in fact, my first year, a coach that I knew called me, college coach, and called me and said, Billy, never count on your coaching to win games. Always have better players than the other team. And that was really my theory the whole time. If I could get better players, then I had a better chance of being a coach.
And of course, Coach Tubbs, one of our Tulsa Public Schools Hall of Famers.
Went in this past year.
That's right.
And we were so glad to have him. What an icon in basketball. And one of the great stories that I remember, Coach Tubbs, is it was a TV game, and Ed Hightower was the official. And it was at Norman, and the fans were throwing pennies on the court, and he came over to the bench and said, you need to go tell them that the next time they do that, we're going to get a technical foul on the Oklahoma bench. And so Coach Tubbs went over, got the microphone and said, listen, no matter how bad the officiating is, and that was the quick tee on that, I'll always remember that.
Well, you know, I did a good job, though, because they didn't throw anything on the floor after that.
Exactly right.
And I don't really understand how you can be rewarded for doing a good job. And the fact is, when I said, regardless how bad the officiating is, that was the reason they were throwing things on the floor. So, you know, I probably should have used my wording a little differently.
No, because everybody still tells the story now. We had Ed Hightower at bracketology last year, and he had to tell the story all over again.
Now it's February 9th, 1989, that game. That was two nationally ranked teams, Missouri, playing there in Lloyd Noble Center. Oklahoma went on to win that game, coming way behind. Came back and won 112-105. And Coach made a comment too. He said, "I didn't know if they were throwing stuff because the officiating was bad or because OU was playing so bad early on." It's a great times there, Coach. Right? I can think of those teams, and of course another Tulsa connection. Wayman Tisdale always pops up.
Well, what a great player, and you know, I used to have to try to beat Ted to Wayman's high school games. When he was at Kansas, my goal was try to get there before Ted did, because if you remember, I guess Wayman's sophomore and junior year, the coaches could sit with the parents. And I was so glad when they passed the rule that his senior year we couldn't sit with them. And in fact, we couldn't speak to him, supposedly, if you remember that, Ted. And I did see Ted talking to him several times.
Well, let me tell you why I couldn't sit with them. It wasn't the rule that kept me. It was because you had Scott and Bill Martin
Exactly.
sitting on both sides of Reverend Tisdale and the Tisdales.
Well, and I attended church there and gave a very silent donation every Sunday.
But Wayman would, in fact, I was with him a week before he passed, and Wayman said, "Coach, if you'd let me have a bedroom by myself at Jayhawk Towers, I might have come to Kansas. I said, Wayman, we'd have given you the whole dorm if we'd have known.
Well, you know, really, not only a great player, but he was so charismatic, and that great smile that he had just, you know, made you love him to start with. And I see players now, and Wayman was a great player, and although the game has changed somewhat, I think right now, he was the guy that fit our offense and what we needed to do. I brought an offensive and defensive scheme with me from Lamar, and so Wayman was the ideal player for us. If he had played for Ted, I think he was a 10 or 12 point a game guy.
Yeah, right.
Now, Billy, as I understand your scheme was throw it inside Wayman, he shoots it. Was that the system that you brought?
Yes, it was, exactly. And if you read the record book, Wayman had a total of 5 assists in his 4 years. In his 3 years at OU. But that's true. We were, all of my teams were always inside oriented, and that's where the game has really changed right now. It's a guard oriented, it's a pick, dribble, drive game right now, and it's a guard oriented game. But we were post oriented, and I was fortunate to have the Stacey Kings and the Harvey Grants and the Waymans and the guys like that who helped us be a much better team.
We got a lot more coming up with you guys. We're going to take a quick break here. JV's got some questions I know too for both Billy and Ted. Let's take a quick break here on our Oklahoma Sports Scene, and we started off with JV Haney talking about the Greater Tulsa Reporter.
Well, listen, when you take a look at what you read here with the Midtown papers, there are 6 of them in Tulsa. And wherever you are, you can read about sports, you can read about politics, you can read about religion, you can read about the society that is going on. Whatever you are interested in, you can find it right here in the paper. Pick one up today.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Celebrate your home today at Bowen's Discount Carpet for our Shop and Compare sale. Take advantage of our guaranteed lowest prices you can find. Great deals on new Shaw floors and a huge variety of brands and colors that you will have to see to believe. Let Shaw Floors spice up your space, along with 36 years of experience, and the beauty of your floors will shine. Come out to Bowen's, where we refuse to be undersold.
Your Tulsa Roughnecks open the 2018 season Saturday, March 24th against division rival Real Monarchs SLC. Kickoff is 7 p.m., but head to One Oak Field early for the opening night festivities, including a parade open to all youth soccer clubs in our community. After the match, we'll light up the downtown skyline with the best fireworks show in Tulsa, brought to you by PSO. Catch the action all season long at One Oak Field or Cox Yearview. Purchase tickets for this match or get your season membership today at roughnecksfc.com.
Bricktown Brewery, pleased as we are to have on our show, the Oklahoma Sports Scene Show, Billy Tubbs, Ted Owens, legendary coaches, and JV's got a question for the coach.
Well, Billy, I want to ask you about Wayman Tisdale, because I think everyone in the Tulsa area really became very close with him, because not only was he one of the best basketball players a person could ever see, but he was a good human being, a good citizen, and I know he must have been a lot of fun to coach.
Well, it was great to coach, and the thing about it, you know, and if you remember in coaching, we were always calling these kids in about, well, hey, you got to do this and you got to do that. You got to play harder. Let me tell you, we never had a conversation like that. One, he took care of his personal business really great, and he would give it 100% in practice every day. And so he was a great player, not only on the floor, but he was a great person off the floor.
87-88, 35-4, win the big championship. How the hell could we lose to Kansas in the national championship?
Well, you know, when you dream about getting to the finals NCAA tournament, that's one thing you really dream about is playing Kansas on their home floor.
In Kansas City? You did it twice that year, right?
In Kansas City, but really, it was a great team. And, you know, it was just a feeling that I had maybe in our second or third inter-squad game that we had, because we could just fill it up. And, you know, when we scrimmaged, both teams were going over 100 points a game, and it was an exciting thing because we scored a lot of points, but nobody ever gave us credit for the defense we played, because we played the toughest defense known to man, which is covering the full court. And it was a great team with the guard play was outstanding, but you've got two inside players, Harvey Grant and Stacey King, averaging 20 points a game. And remember, we beat Kansas twice during the regular season, and I would say this, the one thing that I learned, I never got to go to a final game again, but by the time we hit the final game, we were physically worn out. Our team, because the press conferences that we went to, and one thing a lot of people don't realize, you have an advantage if you play on Saturday, and the games were at night, if you remember then, and we played the last game, and our players, I promise you, didn't get to bed before 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we were up at 9 o'clock the next morning for our press conference, and we had to take all 5 starters to the press conference. And we were late for our team meeting because of the press conference, and our practice was bad. And I thought we did as well as we possibly could, but I wish there was something we could have done to change our physical fitness for that game, because we were a very tired team. That's not to say that that Kansas wasn't also tired, but you're physically beat down after those 3 straight weeks of traveling and staying in different hotels, et cetera, et cetera. And but Kansas had a great game that game, and as usual, basketball gets down to how well you play in the last 5 or 6 minutes, and it's a very simple game. If you make baskets, it's really a lot of fun, and everything works out great. And when you don't make shots, then the game can get away from you.
I thought, I was living in California at the time, and I watched that game, and I thought the first half was the finest half of basketball, most entertaining. 50 and 50 at halftime. But it also helps against Billy's press if you have a 6'11" guy who can bring the ball up the court. Danny Manning. I mean, you've got a coverage problem there when you have a guy like Manning. Danny would bring it up against the press.
Ted, you had 2 Final Four teams, but maybe your best team just missed the Final Four and made history in some ways against Texas Western, now Texas El Paso.
Yeah, you want to cause Malzer to kick up again. It was a great game against, I thought, the 2 best teams in the country were playing. And that was one of the greatest teams we ever had at Kansas. And yet, because we ran into Texas Western, one of us didn't go to the finals. But as you know, JoJo hits the shot that we thought won it, and the official came up late. We were out on the court celebrating. We were on our way to the Final Four. My second year as head coach at Kansas, and so we were out on the court celebrating. An official comes in late and says that he stepped out of bounds. And today with all the camera angles, you could tell whether he was out of bounds or not. We were all the way across the court. There's no way we'd know whether he was out of bounds. But the sequence of shots, it appears that the official had his eye on the basket to see if there was basket interference or anything, and never saw what happened. But when he drifted after he shot, he landed out of bounds. And so, anyway, but you don't have that many chances to win national championships.
And you get a lot more details in Coach Owens' book, by the way. It's called At the Hang-Up. Great read. Any basketball fan will love it. And he bought some copies to sign for you guys, by the way. I know you'll enjoy. But before we wrap things up, Coach, the state of the game. Give me a brief thing, the state of the game, this one and done. Your thoughts on that in about 30 seconds here.
In one and done, it's killed the game of college basketball. The game has gone downhill in the last several years. The quality play is not as good, and they really need to do something about it, adopt the football rule or the baseball rule.
Ted, your thoughts?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. The NBA has just gotten totally selfish. They have the cheapest farm club in basketball, in college basketball. Why would you want to do that? Now, why you're seeing so many upsets in the tournament is because a lot of these small schools have juniors and seniors on their team, and they've played together for a while. And also a rule change. Remember, Billy, we could recruit 15 players on a scholarship. And so you would just stockpile the players. They didn't play, but they didn't hurt you. But now they cut it to 13, and that just makes that many more players available.
And before we wrap it up, there's a little disparity in what basketball coaches make now salary-wise. Coach, you're telling me you coached Kansas 64 to 83. What did you make your last year at Kansas with all of your championships, everything you did, 2 Final Fours? What was your big salary there?
My first year at Kansas, I had a 1-year contract for $10,000. After 19 years as head coach at Kansas, I was making $53,000.
And Bill Self's making
$5.5 million. Now, I asked Bill one day, I said, are you 500 times better than I was?
Guys, it's been great. I tell you, so many great memories, such a great time, and I know all our brackets are busted anyway. Billy, Ted, thanks, Johnny, for making it a very special show.
Great, Ben. We enjoy your show, and you three are terrific.
Coach has some presentations for you.
We got to have a little Bricktown.
Oh,
there you go, Coach.
Sponsor.
Bricktown Brewery gift card for you.
Bricktown.
And Ted's going to autograph his book, Hang Up, At the Hang Up, and give one to all our guys here on the set. So thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us. More on Oklahoma Sports Scene. We're going to look ahead to the Masters when we return. At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Noonan's Red Irish Lager. But we haven't forgotten the kids. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. And just ask for our Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery, open every day at 11 a.m.
30 years ago, a race began along a quarter-mile of dirt and dreams in Oklahoma City. Today, with the biggest prize money and the best horses, that glittering quarter-mile is home to the best quarter horse racing on earth. Remington Park proudly presents our biggest quarter horse season ever, celebrating 30 years of hard racing fun. World's best, OKC's own, Remington Park.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
Rising from the plains of Oklahoma is a destination for scholars and thinkers, dreamers and doers. This is where hope, hard work, and integrity create tomorrow's catalyst for change. And excellence is the standard demanded not only of your head, but your heart. This is Oklahoma State University, America's brightest orange.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. I got to tell you one more thing before Ted and Billy left. Ted gave us a book that he's written, and it's really a great book. He signed it for us, and he gave one to Billy. And Billy said, well, I already have one, but I damn sure didn't pay for it. It's my pleasure to welcome to Sportscene, Oklahoma Sportscene, Nick Sidorkais, the general manager at Southern Hills, and what a great sponsorship that they have with the First Tee program, and of course the major tournaments that have been there. And today we're going to talk to Nick a little bit about the Masters in Augusta, and then some things coming up at Southern Hills in the future. Nick, we're glad you're here.
It's great to be here.
Nick, since 1995, you shepherded Southern Hills to some of the great 15 major championships at that course. What great history at Southern Hills.
It's been part of our tradition going back to 1946 when Babe Zaharias won the U.S. Women's Amateur. That was the first championship that we had. So. And
U.S. Open was 58. Tommy Vogt, right, the first one? How about a privilege of covering many out there, too? And I know, JV, you've covered golf a lot of times out here in Southern Hills. Nobody does it better.
Well, there's not a better course anywhere.
Sure.
But the thing that always goes through my mind, at different times you have made adjustments that has made it more difficult to play. Could you tell our audience maybe some of the things that you have done at Southern Hills?
Oh, gosh. I've been there since 95, so we went through a renovation in 99, 2000. When we had vandalism on the greens, unfortunately. And so we had to reseed all the greens, all 27 holes. And then we took advantage of that and put in the irrigation system, bunkering, and did some minor changes. The USGA didn't want us to go ahead and renovate the greens at that point in time because it was too close to the US Open in 2001. And then we also renovated back in 2004, 2005. We did renovate the greens then, bunkers, tees, regrassing fairways. So we've had two and another one coming up this year in my history there.
What about the ice storm? Did that caused really havoc out there?
Yeah, back in 2009, I think it was. We had significant damage. We lost about 400 trees. And then all the debris. The story goes, I was driving down the main drive and our staff was cleaning up the debris off the main drive so we could get members up from the security gate. And all you heard was popping and cracking. And I'm in my Suburban, and I'm just seeing branches fall. And I said, that's it, we're closing. I said, get off the road. Wow. Let's get out of here. Because it was a danger zone. It was terrible.
Southern Hills was so much a part of Tulsa history, though, too, Nick. 1936, of course, founded really some of the pillars of Tulsa, starting with the donation of the land. A lot of oil involved there.
Wade Phillips donated the land, and W.K. Warren, Cecil Canary, Don Bothwell were the really three instrumental gentlemen that really started it.
This is during the Depression.
This is during the Depression. Back in 1933, 34, they approached Wade Phillips because they were all members of Tulsa Country Club back in that time. And they wanted to start a club because there was some expansion. Tulsa Country Club wanted to expand, and I don't know what the particular situations were at that time, but then they splintered off and approached Wade Phillips, and Wade gave him a challenge. If you can get 150 people to donate $1,000 each, then I'll go ahead and donate the land to you. And lo and behold, they made it happen within about a month and a half. So,
you know, it's always amazing to me that anytime that you're around some of the pro golfers, I mean the big names, that they all mention Southern Hills in a positive manner. I've never heard of one of them in any way be critical of Southern Hills.
Yeah, we've got a long history of tradition. Ben Hogan, Arnold Palmer basically said the number 12th hole was the best par 4 that they've ever played, or in their top 18, so to speak, with Arnold Palmer. Sam Snead made some really favorable quotes on Southern Hills. Tom Weiskopf back in the 70s as well, and comparing it to Augusta. So Southern Hills can stand up to pretty much any golf course. You know, now the game's gotten out of hand a little bit with the ball, but these guys are strong. So, you know, they call it Dustinizing it now. So you Dustinize it against Dustin Johnson, we can carry it 320.
So let's talk about the Masters.
Yeah,
sure.
What do you think, who's the front runner for the Masters?
Well, I'd like to say this, but I like Tiger. I love Tiger. The way he plays, the way he's gone about it. He competes, and to be where he is now, you know, 2-3 years ago, you would have never thought in your wildest dreams that he was even going to be able to contend or even play for that matter. Rory, after the way he played yesterday and made 5 out of 6 birdies coming in. Phil won in Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that, those 3. And then you've got, Justin Rose playing really good. He's been top 5, I think, here in the last couple of weeks. Could be anyone. So it's going to be exciting.
What do you think separates the Masters from other tournaments?
Oh gosh, the uniqueness of being able to qualifying to get there, having to win a tournament, or be in the top. I think it's 50 in the world rankings. So it's a pretty special place. You've got to earn it, and so being able to earn it by winning a championship on a PGA Tour, and also the foreign players where they're in the top of their tour. So I think that's uniqueness, and then just driving up Magnolia Lane is pretty special. There's not too many places like that.
Well, you know, when you take a look at what has happened out there, the number of people that have come from all over the United States, really all over the world. So it's not just popular in Oklahoma, it is popular in the golf world.
Yeah, you're talking about Southern Hills? Yes. You know, I've been fortunate to travel, and we played over in Ireland and Scotland this past summer, and of course we were sporting. I was with 11 members, and we're sporting our logo, and everyone, you go over there, everyone knows Southern Hills. Yeah. They look at it, you know, gosh, I'd love to play there, and well, come on over, we'll host you. But it is, you know, it's world renowned, and it goes back to the membership. You know, you go and do these renovations, and you take them off the golf course, but the membership is really what's so special about Southern Hills.
We're going to talk about that big renovation coming up. But also, I want to let you know, we've used you as kind of a lure a bit. We've been trying to get Bob Stoops on the show. Sort of promised him you could get him on Southern Hills if he came in and taped the show.
I don't think that's a problem.
Okay. Remember that, Coach Stoops? We were calling you on that. Back with more with Nick Sidorkais on Oklahoma Sports Scene right after this.
30 years ago, a race began along a quarter-mile of dirt and dreams in Oklahoma City. Today, with the biggest prize money and the best horses, that glittering quarter-mile is home to the best quarter horse racing on earth. Remington Park proudly presents our biggest quarter horse season ever, celebrating 30 years of hard racing fun. World's best, OKC's own, Remington Park.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Noonan's Red Irish Lager. But we haven't forgotten the kids. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. And just ask for our Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery, open every day at 11 a.m.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. Our special guest, Nick Sidorkais, today. And Nick, you've been very, very involved with First Tee, and I've been fortunate to be on the board, you know, for 5 years now. And what a great program for kids. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Gosh, yes, it's near and dear to my heart. John Johnson and I started it back in '99, and we went out and started raising money and built a junior golf headquarters and learning facility out there, a 7,500 square foot facility, and we use golf as a vehicle to teach life skills for children that really wouldn't have the opportunity to play golf, and so it's expanded, and it's just been beyond my wildest dreams. Last year we touched over 12,000 lives of young children between the age of 7 and 17. We use a big educational component as well now, where we're going ahead and doing outreach and reading, writing, ACT testing, STEM labs, and so it's blossomed and expanded, and so we're really proud of it.
Really happy with our director, Janice Gibson, and this is probably a pre-announcement, but Janice is going into TPS Athletics Hall of Fame this next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
well deserved.
She was tickled to death about that, but
that's
she
great.
does such a great job.
Congratulate her.
Yeah, do that. Does such a great job with those kids, and the education component, I think, is really, really critical today.
Well, what a great sport golf is, of course. generations, something to carry all your life. And in fact, my grandson, I have a story for you, Nick, Lincoln Avery Crooks, I attended his golf camp award ceremony. I'm sitting there, and little Billy was the longest driver, and little Jimmy was the best putter. And I'm thinking, Lincoln Avery Crooks, best dressed. What? Because Becky had him in little knickers, and that's my golf story.
Doug Sanders.
Exactly, best dressed. Coach?
Where do you see this going as far as the kids are concerned?
That's a good question. The outreach program has exploded. We're now going and picking up children at school, after school, through TPS. I think it's now 14 different schools through TPS, and thanks to Gil. And that has gone from 0 3 years ago to over 600 children last year. We're expecting almost 800 children this year. We have 3 vans that are constantly going and picking up after school. The programming on outreach, we did a satellite program 3 years ago. We started at Paige Belcher, and that's going to go ahead and expand as well. So the more we can utilize golf to teach life skills for children that wouldn't have the opportunity to be introduced to the game of golf, which is an amazing game, and all the components of what it teaches and the values, we're going to utilize that as much as possible. And we go ahead and teach the athletic teachers in all the TPS schools and surrounding schools the game of golf through Snag Golf. And so we have our staff that goes in there and teaches that and trying to lure them to come to Mohawk Park and to the First Tee program.
Nick, tell us about the renovation coming up in Southern Hills. Starting August 1st, $19 million renovation, big project.
Yes, it is. I'm excited about it. It's going to transform our golf course and our facility. The membership voted and approved it here in October. And about half of it, actually a little bit more than half, is on the golf course. Renovating the total golf course. Gil Hands is our architect, and he's going to walk us through that plan. We're also going to redo the driving range, build an indoor golf performance center, a 4-bay performance center, a 3-hole short game area. Then we have 3 different buildings that are going to be touched through this renovation. So we're really excited about the opportunities. And then what lie beyond that with the championships coming forward.
2021, the senior PGA is coming to Tulsa, the next big event. And then you're in the mix, right, for a PGA in it was 24 to 30 or?
No later than 2030.
How old are we going to be?
I just want to be alive.
14 more years. I don't know.
So there's some openings. I think 26 is opened, 29 and 30. So we're vying for something earlier.
Masters coming up again, April 2nd through the 5th, one of the great events in golf. And of course, anytime we talk Southern Hills and golf, it's a special time in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've meant so much to this state, this city, and we thank everybody at Southern Hills for your support. And we have something for you too, Nick.
Nick, right here, we want you to go to Bricktown Brewery, our sponsor, and enjoy yourself.
I'd love to.
Thank you very much for coming and joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you for
Nick, thanks so
inviting
much.
me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be back, and we have Roughneck Soccer to talk about. Their season is underway, and their head coach is with us right after this.
30 years ago, a race began along a quarter-mile of dirt and dreams in Oklahoma City. Today, with the biggest prize money and the best horses, that glittering quarter-mile is home to the best quarter horse racing on earth. Remington Park proudly presents our biggest quarter horse season ever, celebrating 30 years of hard racing fun. World's best, OKC's own, Remington Park.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
The Roughnecks are underway, the soccer season for 2018. The Tulsa Roughnecks got underway in Oklahoma City on March the 17th with a 1-0 loss to the group over there, but now they're home for 3 straight, and their head coach is with us. Joining us now, David
Vaudreil.
That's what I was going to say that. But I've been practicing that. David, nicely done, David. David, talk about your second year as the head coach of the Roughnecks. Last year, a record-setting year for this club.
Yeah, it was exciting. You know, brought in a whole brand new team, and my first job as a head coach for maybe 8 or 9 years, so it was all a little bit of brand new, and got off to a great start and had a real good group of guys, and you know, I have to say it was a success. Made the playoffs,
right.
Won 15 games, and we caught one of the best teams in the league all year, San Antonio, and lost a heartbreaker in extra time. So as much of a success as was, the goal now is to go further, to make the playoffs, try and get home field advantage, and try and go play for the conference championship and maybe into USL Cup.
Got a lot of good returners coming back?
Well, we had, with the success, we lost 2 guys and sent them to Major League Soccer. Jorge Corrales went to our affiliate, Chicago Fire, early in the year. And then Mo Jadama went with the Portland Timbers in Major League Soccer. And then we had 4 or 5 guys that free agency gave them a great deal, and that's, you know, that's part of your success, is people are going to move up, and you want them to move up. We want them to go play at the highest level. So it looks good for the club, but obviously that means we have new face in there. So I think you saw that a little bit on Saturday. Right. We had 4 starters from last year, and 2 of them were playing out of position. So it looked a little rough around the edges at time, but now that we come home for 3 games at home, we expect things to pick up quickly and get back to you know, we want to dominate the ball. We gave away the ball a little too much last Saturday.
And David, One Oak Field, they are really making the adjustments there for soccer, aren't they?
Absolutely, it's been amazing. They're building one of those new hydraulic lifts to move the baseball mound up and down. So in the past, with the mound in the way, the dimension of the field had to be moved too far away from the stands, and it makes the fans a little disconnected for the game. Well, now that the mound goes down, the field moves over a good 30 feet, and they're right on top of the action and can see the players up close. So it should be very exciting.
And the pitch has been expanded to now the
It
USL,
made the dimensions much better,
wide.
a little bit wider,
right.
a decent amount wider, and just a little bit longer, which suits our style of play. We're a very skillful ball possession type place. The more room you have, the more room to operate. So we're hoping that's a little bit of a benefit to us.
Talk about the United Soccer League. You're part of there. Now they're playing their expanded season. Now goes to 34 games. Where does that fit in the hierarchy of soccer and stuff in this country?
So we're the 2nd division in soccer. We are directly affiliated with my old team in Major League Soccer, the Chicago Fire. So that's good for us. We get to call players down for us. And as we saw last year, Corrales signed with them. If they needed a player, they could bring them up on a short-term loan that way. But you see that almost all the Major League Soccer teams now have a 2nd division team in this league, because that's the best way to develop players. They have them playing every day in a professional league instead of sitting on the bench and developing behind their first team players. A lot of guys get experience in playing this 2nd division.
Is there a lot of movement like baseball? They're up and down a lot, or?
It's not as much, just because the rosters, you only have 18-man roster. So what they do is, Chicago last year gave us 3 players full time. And then if I needed to call one on a game-by-game basis, I'd do that way. But I wouldn't say on any given game, you'd probably, last week we asked for 2. Maybe 1, maybe 2, depending on the schedule, how many games you play, depending on injuries. For both teams, we take it into account and we try and plan it out week by week.
And David, 3 consecutive home matches starting this on Saturday the 24th. The Real Monarchs are in here. Then we'll have Orange County on March 31st. The Portland Timbers should be a great match Wednesday, April 4th, 7 p.m. So really great to get some home pitch advantage to start.
Yeah, you know, the hardest thing about going to Oklahoma City is playing on the AstroTurf down there. It's, you know, we have to go find it and go play on it. We had to schedule games in preseason to get used to it. You got a lot of these guys coming from overseas. They've never seen this stuff before. So it's very difficult, and it's an adjustment. Now we get home in our building on our beautiful grass field on a nice, perfect, pristine. You know, the drillers keep that field in perfect condition. It's a fantastic place to play. It should change the whole atmosphere of the game for us, and being in the stadium should be, we expect to see a much better level of play.
David, what impact has your soccer program had with the influx that we've had in the high school boys and girls, grade school boys and girls, that soccer is just being played in massive numbers, I think. Does that impact you?
I think it impacts us in the fact that that's our first point of contact in the community. You know, we did a series of clinics with the middle school last year with Coach Gill. We go out there, and that's our number one thing, doing clinics, meeting the kids, doing camps for them in the summer, to be able to be close to both communities, whether it's the Latino community or the suburban community. You know, that's our first point of contact, and those are going to be our fans, hopefully lifelong fans and stuff like that. So since I was a kid, it's changed so much. You know, we never practiced, we played on the weekends, and you had a pair of shin guards. I think now the kids have you know, $200 uniform, and they play 4 times a week, and they're traveling and doing tournaments. It's a big experience, and for us as a pro team to connect with all these rabid young soccer fans, it's a big deal.
And Bricktown's got something for the coach here.
Coach,
yes.
Enjoy yourself at Bricktown Brewery.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming.
Non-alcoholic. I got a lot of video work to do.
That's right.
There you go.
Matches at home on the 24th, on the 31st, and on April 4th. Go out and support the Tulsa Roughnecks. And Coach, keep an eye on a young defender. I've been scouting this young lady. She's a 6-year-old. Lily Stott plays for, what's that team, Becky? Oh, the Unicorns.
Unicorns.
Unicorns. So
yes.
Keep an eye on her.
There you go.
We have time coming up. Our parting shots right after this. At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Noonan's Red Irish Lager. But we haven't forgotten the kids. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. And just ask for our Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery, open every day at 11 a.m.
Ditchwitch, 5 words or less.
Making the impossible possible.
Technology you can't live without.
Most versatile equipment ever made.
Customer service and support.
Reliable, productive, ground chewing machines.
We're in this together.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
Back on Oklahoma Sports Scene, and they're racing at Remington Park. The quarter season is underway, and with an update, let's go to Dale Day.
The 2018 American Quarter Horse season is underway at Remington Park. Pleasant spring-like weather has greeted fans and horsemen alike, and thanks to a pair of preseason purse increases, the competition is higher than ever before in Oklahoma. Bruce Almighty won the initial stakes race of the season, the Grade 2 Eastex, winning his 4th straight race and stamping himself as a candidate for local honors. They're off for the Eastex Stakes. Bouncing start for Born to Be Bad, away sharply. The gray Bruce Almighty now grabs the lead. Don's first serial challenge is inside, outside trying to come on. His Capshaw Capos, Bruce Almighty. Here's Tough to Be with a rally. Tough to Be coming on strongly late. Final yards, Bruce Almighty wins another one. The historic 77th Oklahoma Futurity will be run March 24th. Pop's Tempting Wagon was the top qualifier for the event, worth $371,000. The Oklahoma is the first of 3 major futurities this season, with the $900,000 Remington Park Futurity taking place on Saturday, April 21st, and the $1 million Heritage Place Futurity on Saturday, June 2nd. Also, mark your calendars for the biggest afternoon of the season when Extreme Racing 2018 takes place on Sunday, April 22nd. The camels, zebras, ostriches, and more delight the fans in addition to great racing. The Quarter Horse season at Remington Park takes place weekly Thursday through Sunday with racing nightly at 6 p.m. and Sunday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. In Oklahoma City at Remington Park, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sports Scene.
Thank you, Dale. Let's go now to our parting shots, and leading us off, Gil Cloud.
You know, while this is a sports show, I'm very concerned about a group that has an indirect effect on us. That would be the legislature and the governor. And because of a lack of leadership by our governor and our legislature, Common Ed and higher education over the last 10 years have had cuts that are just devastating to our kids. My point is that if these guys were coaches and done the job that they have done, they would be fired. What do you think?
JV.
Well, I could really comment on it, and I will agree with you, Joe Cloud. But I want to talk a little bit about basketball. From the standpoint, it seems like anymore that the game has turned into a dribble game. And on a college level, the good players play 1 year and they're gone. Now, where does the word team come in? And I think that's the background of why kids want to play, because it gives them an opportunity to be a part with others their age and their ability. But from the college level, I think that they really need to go like they do in baseball. When you come in as a freshman, you're going to be there 3 years, and then you can go into the pros. But will it happen? I doubt it.
I'm going to turn the calendar to spring. Yes, finally spring. Actually, officially it became spring March the 20th. Don't know about the temperature, but at least officially by the calendar. And spring runs until June 21st. It's a rebirth in the Northern Hemisphere and a rebirth in American sports as well. We're getting ready for some great new seasons and wrapping up some seasons, of course. The Final Four, March Madness, of course, all ends up in April. And we're looking forward to Major League Baseball starting on March the 29th. We'll have the Tulsa Drillers opening their season on April the 5th. They'll come back the next weekend for their first homestand of the season at One Oak Field, with games April 12th through the 17th. Now, our first professional USL soccer team here, the Tulsa Roughnecks, had the coach on with us, talked about their big homestand coming up. So soccer underway as well here. And major events in the spring, of course, include some of the great events in sports. The Masters on April 2nd through the 5th at Augusta National, 5th through the 8th, at Augusta National. And then one of my favorites, the first Saturday in May, always means the Kentucky Derby. Great sports events, the NBA Finals coming up, the Stanley Cup Finals. So enjoy the spring and hopefully get some warm weather along the way too. All right, guys, looking forward to the next Oklahoma Sports Scene show, talking baseball with the manager of the Tulsa Drillers, Scott Hennessy.
We're really looking forward to having Scott Hennessy. That great year they had last year. He came in late in the year and did a really good job.
You got a good friend of yours, the president of NEO A&M, going to join us.
Yes, Dr. Hale will be here. And, you know, NEO A&M has had such a tremendous influence athletically in the metropolitan area of Tulsa. So many of our kids have gone up there and did well. So I think that our audience will enjoy listening to Dr. Hale.
And we'll have our friend Barry Lewis here from the Tulsa World for another look at High School Coach and Player of the Month.
We'll have the Coach and Player of the Month, and there should be some really, really interesting, because the state tournament ended in March, and now we've got all the spring sports, the 5 or 6 spring sports going on right now. So it'll be a tough choice for Barry and Mike Brown.
Well, enjoy the rest of the basketball season. I know your bracket's already busted, so just sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Oklahoma Sports Scene, hope you've had a good time with us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being with us.